moving on, we're going to be talking about a family of 4, or let's say a family of 3. So a young couple, or, you know, a starter family, just getting assimilated to this new life of being a parent and having a new little baby running around in their home changes the dynamic of things. It changes their finances and how they manage money. So what advice do you give to young couples who just got married or just started a family and is trying to understand this sharing is caring mentality and managing money as a group?
Yeah, good question. So my advice to young couples, or any couples in general that are just kind of getting together or maybe started cohabitating together, you want to make sure that you guys are on the same page financially, because, you know, we are all different people. You have your personality, he has his personality. But if you're the saver and he's the spender, there's going to be some friction there, because if one person is continuing their lifestyle the way they were before you guys got together or before you got the house together, there's going to be some definite friction there if you're not both treading on the same water. So you want to make sure you have that talk. I think a lot of times things don't necessarily go over well when you're talking to your spouse about finances. So speaking to your spouse, maybe with a planner or with an advisor, to get like an outside perspective, I think would be great just to start. But my advice definitely would be new couples, especially married couples, often start their journey with a lot of debt, whether it be from the wedding or you're still young, so you may have student loans. So if debt is a major thing that's kind of hanging over your head, you know, you may want to take a look at whatever disposable income, which means what's left after all your bills are paid, whatever income you have left that's disposable, put a plan together to tackle that debt together. You know, a lot of people, they put plans in place where they want to get rid of the husband's credit card, or they want to get rid of, you know, the wife's car loan. You know, take a look at tackling your high interest debt or anything that you can do together. Even if it's small, you can start with small debts first and work your way up. You do what's best for you. But that would be option.
That's good advice.
Yeah, that would be option 1. Option 2, if debt's not really a thing, but maybe there's no emergency savings, you can shift your focus on trying to acquire basically and establish more of a savings, because this situation happened with COVID-19. But then outside of that, there are sometimes just automatic expenses that come out of nowhere, like someone's car breaking down, or the car is old, you need a new one now, and things like that that are unplanned for, that can seriously put a debt, or a dent, should I say, in your ship if there's no established fund. So that would be step number 2, would make sure that there is some type of fund put in place. And then once you have the 3 to 6 months savings established, I would then look to other options like acquiring property. So speaking to a professional like yourself and see how, of course, you can look to get a condo, or, you know, a lot of people I know, Toronto is very expensive. So looking at properties way outside the city that might be more in their price range to help build and start that journey together, because that essentially would be the first step in creating, or one of the steps in creating generational wealth as well.
Yeah. I love that. I love to see young couples buying properties together. Some couples are luckier than others, where their parents leave them a home and they can live in that home until they're ready to build it up and get another property, which I think is super dope. And those are some dope ass parents, you know, but some people are not that lucky. Some people have to, you know, get it how they can and figure out a way to save and hustle and live in a studio or a 1-bedroom with their partner until they can move up to that townhouse or that single detached home. But it is possible. And I always say, in the Bible it says that two is always better than 1, right?
Yep.
So if you have 2 incomes, it's sometimes a little bit easier to qualify for a property if you have 2 incomes. So that's a stronger profile for you to pay a mortgage. If one of you fall, the other can pick each other up. So I mean, in that sense, I think it's good. But when you had a kid in the mix, it changes things, right? And from your experience, do you see any tension or growing pains that happens once a new baby is added to the mix?
Oh, most definitely, without a doubt. Okay, there will be tension. Speaking from experience, there will be tension for sure. And that's just due to that's just due to a lot of things. I mean, especially for your first time mom, you know, you're new, or first time parents, you know, father and mother, you're navigating this new part of relationship together, and financially, right? I mean, babies typically, you know, they bring on new expenses with
So how do
diapers
you
and
prepare for
toys.
the baby?
Well, in that 9 months, in that 9 months leading up to that bundle of joy, you best believe you better be saving and acquiring, you know, as many things that you can. You know, some women aren't finicky. They'll use a lot of secondhand things as well. So you can definitely look in thrift stores for things like, you know, cribs, things like that, if you're not finicky about that.
Yeah.
And of course, baby showers help out a lot too, right? You know, a lot of the times you get the bare necessities from things like that.
Yeah.
But it's important to factor in what a child will cost, because after, you know, year 1 and it's time for daycare costs are not cheap, right? And there's certain things that, you know, people don't necessarily think about that far ahead. And depending on where you live in the city, if you're downtown Toronto, I'm 100% sure daycare is not cheap. So those are all things you
like
have
one
to put
of my
away.
best friends pays like $1,000 a month, and she doesn't even live in the core. She lives at the West End. And then I have another friend who's telling me, you know, he has to take his kids swimming, so that's another expense. And it's so many expenses. So speak to Nicole, because Nicole will be able to give you the down low on how to prepare that budget. I have never been a firm believer in preparing and budgeting in any of those things. I'm kind of very spontaneous, go with the flow. But I will say that since I've been budgeting and since I've been chatting with you, I feel like I have more extra knowledge and like extra income that I can use to buffer myself. So I think you're definitely a good resource to tap into, and she's available right now. She has some more time for you.
Definitely have more time due to COVID-19. Definitely. I mean, although I've been quite busy with a lot of people looking into getting different things like insurance and whatnot, now that, you know, this situation has brought a lot of tragedy into people's lives. But I definitely would like to hear from you guys and see how you guys are coping, because, you know, a lot of people, when it comes to starting to save, or more importantly, investing, you know, it can be very intimidating. Right? And a lot of people have that blind assumption that maybe they have to make a certain amount of money, or to have a large lump sum to start investing. And you really don't. I mean, you can literally start investing for as little as $25 a month. The most important thing to just take into account is, when do you need this money? If you don't have an emergency fund already established, you may want to wait, hold off on investing until you have that completed, because you definitely want to have access to funds, and putting your money in investment will incur some risk because it's in the market. But once you have that fund established, definitely look to, you know, taking advantage of the compound interest so that your money can grow over time.
Absolutely. That's so important. Now, I appreciate all of your time, so I don't want to take too much more of it.